Hi, welcome to the 14-day weather forecast. There haven't been many scenes like this one recently, but I'm more optimistic about the prospects for the next couple of weeks. But to begin with, it's not a great scene. It's showery across the country, and with winds coming down from the northeast, temperatures are still below where they should be in late May. Through the coming days, things begin to change, but it isn't plain sailing, and Thursday and Friday see outbreaks of rain pushing in from the Atlantic, and those look set to affect northern and western areas. But through the bank holiday weekend, they fade away and high pressure becomes dominant, leaving dry conditions in all parts of the country. All in all, it's a promising bank holiday Monday if this GFS 00Z sequence is correct. I'll show you a couple of the jet stream forecasts from it. Initially, here's the UK on the cool northern side of the jet. See, it's diving down here to the west of the UK and down through central France. Jump ahead to bank holiday Monday. Finally, it's moved northwards, high pressure's built, and the UK is sitting on its warm south side. That means a change in the air mass profile. Initially, the light greens over the UK are indicating rather chilly air for the time of year, but jump forwards to bank holiday Monday and the UK is now under yellows and oranges, a warmer air mass. Finally, it's turning warmer. How does that correspond to 2 metre temperatures, the ones we experience down at the ground level? Here's the GFS forecast. Yellows and oranges covering the UK, temperatures between 19 and 22 Celsius on bank holiday Monday. Pleasantly warm. But GFS often under forecast maximum values by a degree or two, so I thought it would be interesting to take a look at what the Canadian model is showing at the same time. Here we go, and we see 25 Celsius in maybe Yorkshire, parts of northern England, 25, 24 in northern Wales, and even in southwestern parts of England too. Interesting because currently the warmest day of the meteorological spring was on the 30th of March when 24.5 Celsius was reached. Now, I believe there hasn't been a meteorological spring recorded in the UK where the highest temperature was in March. So in a way, it would be a shame if we fall the final hurdle and temperatures on the 31st of May actually exceed those March values. On the other hand, I'm sure many people would be grateful for some genuine bank holiday warmth. So we'll just have to see how that turns out. Nights are also going to be less cool than they have been recently. This is for bank holiday Monday at 06 GMT in the morning, so minimum temperatures generally between 8 and 11 Celsius across the UK. The risk of frost beginning to recede at long last. Rainfall, also instructive as to what's likely to happen according to GFS. On the left, it's days 0 to 5. On the right, it's days 0 to 10. I think the interest here is that there's very little difference in the two plots. So the suggestion being that, according to this GFS run, days 5 to 10 will be virtually dry in most of the UK. Very little rain being forecast in that 5 to 10 day time slot. In the 0 to 5 days, we see between 10 and 20 millimetres in the northern half UK, less in the south. So a more settled picture developing based on the GFS run. Do the other deterministics support it, and will that drier theme continue through next week? Here's the ECM model at 10 days ahead. It's showing something a little bit. You can see for UK here, green shading over it, and that's pointing towards the likelihood of low pressure areas returning, and certainly to the northern half of the UK, bringing the risk of showers or longer spells of rain once more. So if the ECM runs correct, it's not looking like a long settled and dry period. The Canadian model at the same time, different, also quite mixed though. We see here areas of low pressure to the south, are the ones to look out for. We've got some very warm air moving northwards across the eastern half of the country. It looks like the sort of setup which could bring some real downpours, potentially thundery conditions as well. So it's different to the ECM, but they're both painting quite a mixed picture at the 10 days range. So the next thing to look at is the ensemble data to see where that fits into the story. Here's a 16-day GEFS for London. The top half is showing air mass temperatures, initially below the 30-year average, so the cool conditions we've been having for a long time, but the trend upwards is very marked, and all of the runs, virtually all the runs in the ensemble, are taking the air mass temperatures above the 30-year average and keeping them there for a decent period of time. Towards the end there, 6th of June onwards, we see a downwards trend once more, but that's a long way off. In terms of rainfall, there's some rain in the short term, but then it's a much drier picture which is being shown here. There are a few spikes still showing their hand. Each one of those is a computer model run in the ensemble which is forecasting rain to fall at that given time. But the key thing is there are not many of them. Perhaps there is an increase later on from about the 6th of January. So just again, at the end of this 16-day period, the chance of more changeable conditions returning probably beginning to increase. Jumping up to Glasgow to see the comparable plot. Air mass follows a similar profile. There's a difference, I think, in terms of the amount of rain. In the short term, we're seeing the rain risk there significantly higher. Probably turns drier for a time. But going into June, there are certainly more rain spikes appearing on this chart than there were on the London one. I think my interpretation of that would lead me to conclude the chance of a northwest to southeast split in the weather developing. More unsettled or changeable weather in the northwest, greater risk of rain, drier and more settled in the southeast. So in terms of the data table for surface pressure, just to see how that stacks up, using York here, pretty central. The yellows are runs in the ensemble which are forecasting close to a little above average pressure at this time of year. It's the oranges which are really going for high pressure to be dominant, and greens and blues are low pressure. So clearly an upward trend in the short term towards high pressure, over 60% of the runs in this dark orange category as we head into the bank holiday weekend. Towards the end of the period, the trend is downwards. It's a trend towards lower pressure, not low pressure. I think it's an important distinction to make. Therefore, it's pointing towards high pressure's influence decreasing, probably quite gradually. Just to try and explain that in a little bit more detail, this is the mean of surface level pressure forecast from all of the runs in the ensemble. So they're all aggregated and then divided by the number of runs. Here's the UK in the middle, and it's for Sunday the 6th of June. Even then, the Azores high pressure looks to be a key feature of our weather. It still seems to be ridging quite far northwards according to many of the runs in the ensemble model. So, as I say, pressure may be declining by that time, but still probably high pressure having a good deal of influence. So, having looked at the pressure and the rainfall outlooks, here's the 2 meter temperature data from the ensemble, the London data here. Light oranges indicate maximums of between 16 and 20 Celsius. The dark oranges between 21 and 30 Celsius, and each column summarising one day. There's a clear upwards trend there in the short term. Through bank holiday weekend, the number of runs in the 21 to 30 Celsius bucket is over 60% at times. A good signal for warm conditions. Even towards the end there's still quite a lot of dark orange showing, although the amount of it is decreasing. I think that suggests that temperatures are likely to be declining later on, but there's still quite a lot of runs in the ensemble which are keeping it pretty warm. Jumping up to Glasgow, it's not such a warm picture. There's much less of the dark orange, the 21 to 30s. There's still a lot of the lighter orange, 16s to 20 Celsius, and you can see the short term, there is that trend there with most of the runs keeping it reasonably warm, as I say, probably in the 16 to 20 Celsius bracket. So taking this and comparing it to the London chart, it's fairly typical. Warmer in the south, cooler as you head north. Often the case in the UK, of course. So to summarise the next 2 weeks, week 1, it's a cool and showery start, and there is a risk of longer outbreaks of rain in the north and west for a time. It then turns drier, brighter and warmer, with temperatures widely reaching or exceeding 21 Celsius. Week 2 probably starts quite warm and sunny, but later on there is a risk of it turning more changeable, particularly in the north. So all in all, it looks a more summery outlook as we head into the meteorological summer, of course, the 1st of June being next week. There is that uncertainty in the longer term, particularly in the north, but I wouldn't be at all surprised if the southern half of the UK continued to have a reasonable amount of fine weather even later on in the forecast period. So thank you for watching this, and if you found it useful and enjoyed it, please remember to hit the like and subscribe buttons. Thanks now. Bye.